Welcome to The Explainer. Sometimes you read something from centuries ago and it just hits you how, well, relevant it still is. Today, we're talking about a thinker exactly like that, Mary Wollstonecraft. Her ideas? They're from over 200 years ago, but you'd swear they were written for today. All right, so to get into this, we're not going to start way back then. Instead, let's kick things off with a question. A big one. It feels super modern, but really it's a question that stretches all the way from Wollstonecraft's era right up to the things we talk about in global development today. So to really get to the heart of that question, we've got to jump in our time machine and head back to 1792. Picture the world she was living in. She looked around and was just frustrated, and she was absolutely determined to do something about it. And she did not mince words. I mean, she was direct, unflinching. For her, the big problem holding everyone back, it wasn't some natural order of things, it wasn't some kind of inherent weakness. Nope, it was the simple, profound fact that women weren't being educated. She called it the grand source of the misery she saw everywhere. But here's the thing. When Wollstonecraft talked about a neglected education, she didn't just mean that women weren't going to school. It was more complicated than that. She saw it as a whole system, a system that was actually teaching them something, but with a very specific and, well, a very limiting goal in mind. She came up with this really powerful analogy, this idea of flowers planted in soil that's way too rich. She's basically saying women were being raised to be these beautiful, ornamental things, all about their appearance, their flaunting leaves, while their real substance, their strength and usefulness, were just left to wither away. And that really gets to the heart of the contrast she was pointing out. On the one hand, you had society's goal, to create what she called alluring mistresses. But her vision? It was so different. She wanted to cultivate rational mothers, or, taking it a step further, just capable, rational human beings. So you see, she wasn't just pointing out what was wrong, she was actually calling for a completely new ambition for women, a totally different purpose for their lives, one built on intellect and character, not just on how they looked. And the key word she kept coming back to was respect. Think about that. She was saying women should aim to earn respect for their abilities, for their virtues, something solid, something lasting, not just to be loved or liked for a fleeting moment.
Now, of course, back then, if a woman had ambitions like that, well, there was a label for her, a common insult, really. They'd call her a masculine woman. It was the go-to way to try and shut her down, to put her back in her place.
But this is where Wollstonecraft was just brilliant. She took that insult and she completely flipped it on its head. She basically said, okay, you want to call me masculine? Fine. If masculine means striving for talents and virtues that make any human being better, then yeah, let's hope women become more and more masculine every single day. She just completely reframed it. These aren't manly virtues, they're human virtues.
Okay, so that's the historical argument. But here's the big question, right? Do these ideas from, over 200 years ago, do they actually hold up today? Can we measure the stuff she was talking about? And the answer is, oh yeah, absolutely. See, we don't have to just rely on philosophy anymore. Today, we have actual data, hard numbers. We collect information from all over the world that lets us track the exact connection she was writing about, the one between gender equality and how well a nation is doing. One of the main tools we use for this is something called the Gender Inequality Index, or GII for short. Think of it like a report card that gives us a snapshot of the opportunities women have in different countries. And just remember this, for the GII, a lower score is better. That means more equality. And when you look at the numbers, the connection is it's undeniable. Take a look at this. Countries that score well on gender inequality, the ones with the low GII, well, they consistently have much higher levels of education for women. It's exactly what Wollstonecraft predicted, but now we can actually see it in the data. It's direct, it's measurable. Okay, but let's add one more piece to the puzzle. It's called the Human Development Index, or HDI. This one is a bit broader. It looks at a country's overall success. We're talking health, we're talking knowledge, standard of living, the whole package. So when you put these two things together, gender equality and human development, the picture becomes crystal clear. The data today is just a stunning confirmation of what Wollstonecraft was arguing all those years ago. And it makes you wonder, why? Well, it seems to be because when you educate and empower women, it doesn't just help women. It creates this incredible ripple effect that lifts up everybody. You get more economic participation, healthier families, stronger communities, and all of that leads to a better standard of living for the entire country.
So you can literally draw a straight line from her passionate arguments back in 1792 all the way to the spreadsheets and data points of our world today. I mean, her foresight was just incredible, wasn't it? And her main points, they feel just as urgent now as they did then. This idea that women should be educated to be rational, thinking human beings, that their potential isn't just for them but is a resource for all of humanity, that's not just a nice philosophical thought anymore. It's a core principle of how we think about global development today. Which kind of brings us to our final question. The data proves she was right. Her theories have been vindicated, no doubt about it. And we've made so much progress. But when you look around the world at the inequalities that are still out there, you have to ask, right? Is her fight really over? Is that world built on reason and true equality for everyone? Is it finally here?